Hello everyone, Johnny Hurricane here from GamersHeroes.com, and why don't you sit back, relax, and let me tell you about Kingdom Hearts 3. Just to let you know, we did get a code from the publisher. I also am not very familiar with the Kingdom Hearts series. I played about an hour of the first game, watched my cousin play a bit of the second game. That's it. As soon as you start the game, you will get an intro cutscene, and then you will be tossed into a choice. This basically determines what stats are going to go up the fastest. So if you plan to be a magic user, you go wisdom. Magic's going to be the stat that goes up the quickest. Vitality would be something more along the lines of strength, and then there's balance, which is nothing's really overpowered, everything grows at the same rate. So you pick this, and then you move on into a quick tutorial boss fight to see if you like your choices. It's worth noting that at this point, I was not too confused as to what was going on. Seemed like a light versus darkness type of story, something I could easily wrap my head around. That quickly changed as these men in black robes appeared, apparently Organization 13, and the story started getting wild. I jotted down a few notes, just a few things that I was wondering what was going on. Let me just list these for you. Organization 13, the Darkness guys apparently, fighting against the 7 Guardians of Light, which is Sora, the guy you play, and a few other Keyblade wielders. Keyblades, by the way. Keyblade Wars, that's also a thing. Parallel universes. Multiple people living in the same heart. Time travel. Yeah, I'm sure I'm missing some stuff. But if you haven't played the previous games, be prepared to be confused. There are a few videos in the game that you can watch beforehand. It actually recommends you do if you haven't played the other games. So you can watch those and you at least know who some of the main key characters are, like the bad guys, but there's still a lot they leave out. You do play as Sora in this one. You play a couple other characters as well, but mainly Sora. He has been the main character in 1, 2, and now 3. He has lost his power, the power of awakening, apparently. The way this was explained to me by someone who actually knows the story was, yeah, Sora was basically a god at the end of the last game, so they needed a way to get rid of his powers, and this is the way they did it. Despite him being in a weakened state, the combat in this game is A+. I love it. It's very good. If I had to sum it up with one word, it would be fun. It's flashy, it's got a lot of pizzazz, and it works. It basically revolves really around one button, the X button, the attack button. If you try to do the jumps and everything, that does add to the complexity of it, and at first that is a bit difficult, especially for newcomers, but I picked it up pretty quickly. I felt like by World 2 I was feeling really good about my combat prowess. Basically all you gotta do is run around and hit X, and then you will build up your combo. There's more depth to it, I know it's not just hitting X. I use my magic a lot as well, dodging and rolling, blocking of course, jumping, all of that. You can chain all of this together to make a fantastic combo, but for a new user, someone who maybe isn't comfortable with a lot of advanced combos, Standard's very forgiving. You don't have to try super hard to get far in the game. You can also do what are known as attraction moves. These are really easy to get. Pretty much if an enemy has a green circle around them, you hit them and you have it. And these are Disney attractions. Just blatantly Disney attractions. There's teacups, there's the boat from Pirates of the Caribbean, there's this blaster thing, no idea what this is from, and carousel, and the Splash Mountain. I might be missing one, but that's about the extent of them. They're very powerful, very flashy, and I use them every chance I get. They say that there is genius in simplicity, and that's how I would describe the combat, which is kind of funny because no one would describe the story that way. But even if you don't know what you're doing, you're not very comfortable with like an action game, you can jump into Kingdom Hearts and have a very good time and do some very cool stuff just by hitting the X button and then popping your triangle abilities. The main weapon of the game is the Keyblade, which Sora is the Keyblade Master, or one of the Keyblade Masters, something like that. So he has no problem using it, but it's not something everyone can use. What I really appreciate about the Keyblades is how you can change them out, and they all have different abilities. You start with a very basic one, and then as you progress, you unlock ones that have different abilities, such as a hammer or bowguns. Now each Keyblade is either going to raise your strength or your magic, or give you a balance of the two. They generally go back and forth as you unlock them, so as you unlock a strength one, the next one you unlock is magic, and so on and so forth. So one side isn't too overpowered, which is nice because if you are a magic user, obviously you're going to want the magic Keyblade, and if you prefer strength, you want the physical ones. Either way, I do recommend trying all of them out. I can't actually show a lot of them because of the restrictions on the videos that I'm allowed to show. But a lot of them, even if I'm the magic user, which my character was, I would go to the strength side and be like, you know what? Maybe I'll toss that one into my arsenal. You can have 3 of them equipped at once and you can quickly switch between them. While you go to each world, you will team up with many of the characters from those worlds. Hercules from Olympus and Woody and Buzz from Toy Story, for example. There are a lot of other worlds. They have a pretty good mixture. I don't know a lot of the worlds, but I'm also an older guy. I'm 30, so when I see Hercules, that's what I grew up with. Meanwhile, they have like Tangled and Frozen, which I really don't know much about, but then again, Toy Story is also included, which is a great addition, and I know Toy Story. So like I said, there's a good balance. Even if you're an old school fan or a new school fan of Disney, you should find something you like here. I'll also mention that this game is freaking gorgeous. There's a lot of times I was like, oh, that could be in the movie. I'm gonna be honest with you, I had no interest in Tangled before this. Now I might actually watch it. And that is something that is very unique to Kingdom Hearts. You cannot get this experience anywhere else. If you want to be in a Disney world, Kingdom Hearts is the way to do it. Even going to Disneyland and Disney World is not going to match what you can get here. And that's all well and good until one of these organization guys pops up and it turns out to be a new guy and then he's got a different plan, but he's my enemy and we're not fighting. I don't know why we're not fighting. I just don't get it. Every time they pop up, I'm like, why don't we just fight and stop talking? That's just me though. Just give me more Ham and Rex. Have them turn to the dark side. That's a story. Outside of the main stories, you will revisit the worlds to take pictures for side quests and look for what are called the Lucky Emblems, which are really just emblems of Mickey. Some of the worlds do have their own side quests attached to them as well, but they can easily be missed if you're not looking for them. They're not required. I do have a couple complaints outside of the story. There's Phil. He goes away, doesn't say anything. That's because Coliseum isn't in the game. Even not having played 1 and 2, I know how important the Coliseum is to Kingdom Hearts, and they took it out. And yes, that does mean that they removed a certain fight that everyone knew about. Very smooth. There are also no Final Fantasy characters. Well, there's the Moogles, so yes, there is some Final Fantasy representation, but none of the Cloud, none of the Squall, all that stuff that made people back in the day jump into this game is currently not in the game. Don't know if it's coming or not. Newcomers will be baffled by the story. It's just a little too complex. Not a little, it is just complex. That's what happens when you build a game over like 25 years. That's what happens. Still, if you are willing to overlook this and just focus on the smaller stories of each Disney world, you can still have a good time with the game. Obviously, if you played 1 and 2 and all the other ones, you're jumping in already, but this is for newcomers, so hey, I say give it a shot. You can get 35 to 40 hours easy out of it, and like I said, there is no other Disney experience like this. Alright, that'll do it for me. If you liked what you saw and got what you needed, like, comment, subscribe, and if you're a Kingdom Hearts veteran, be generous. I'm a newbie. Later, Gators.